Greeting, our dear art lovers. I'm so happy to talk to you again about art, of course. After all these hardships that we all endured through the time of quarantine and everything, we all deserve some good treat. And the good treat here is art, of course, because what can be better than that? So we created for you a new special program which is called Art Encounters. This program presents to you the artists, our contemporaries, who live and work in our time. And every single one of them is absolutely unique. Today we meet with Nikolay Cherny. And when you look even at this title page, you understand and you will have all the proofs you need for that the term fine art means truly here that it is elegant, soulful, skillful, sophisticated, and fun, and beautiful. Now, Nikolay wishes to greet you before you travel around his art show, and I'll be your guide around that.
Hello, I am happy to welcome to my show.
Again, and I'll be your guide. Okay, so back to my duties as a guide around Nikolay's gorgeous art. Just please look at this piece. All my fellow artists admitted, together with myself, of course, that here we see the sound, vibration of the sound of music that all these cool guys producing. And the piece is called Birthday. Now it is sitting in the house of one of our friends. It's not with us anymore, and we are happy about it because for artists, it's the greatest pleasure to find a good home for his or her baby artwork rather than his or her studio. Now let's see what we have next. Next, we have the piece which is called 12 Musicians in the Boat. Now imagine that those guys who were trumpeting and playing music in the birthday piece, they decided to travel around the world. They put themselves in the boat and they cruise the oceans. And guess what is moving them? Of course, the sounds of their music. And please pay attention at the person who is directing the movements. You will see that this character a little bit later. And please pay attention at the craftsmanship of this artist. It is truly amazing. Their skills, their control of the material, which is sometimes it is pencil like here, or contact crayons, or painting, you will see. So our artists are traveling. Let's see where they go. And these pieces are called wayfarers. These three are traveling somewhere, and those three are traveling somewhere, having with them everything that they need for the travel: cane, bread and wine, and the musical instrument. You will see how it will be used later. And I don't know what he is carrying in this little baggie. We'll have to ask him later. Now, these four. This four is done in a little bit different medium. Let me move myself so I can see myself a little bit better. Brown contact crayon. And one of those travelers, wayfarers, this one is carrying the house. Imagine that if they get tired on their way, wherever they're going, they need to have the roof over their heads. So there is the house. And by magic, of course, they can extend it to any size they want. And see that little tail of the fish, you will see the continuation of the fish topic a little bit later. And of course, music, everything with music. Let's go further. Aha. Here is the most admired, one of the latest work created by Nikolay. These are the guys who are absolutely belonging to that new race that Nikolay has created through his excellent drawing, because these are drawings. They are done with the combination of, just wait, with the combination of permanent marker and charcoal. So how it works. It's a triptych. It's called Figure 1, Figure 2, and Figure 3. They are not exactly human. They are rather humanoids, but they're very interesting, very friendly. I find a lot of features which making them related to our new generation that we can see around us when we just go out for whatever reasons. And the clothing of them. Look what a beautiful way of folding the fabric. Actually, I have coiled the term of this new style. I named it, and my fellow artists who have seen that piece agreed with me. I named it Sur Barocco, putting together two terms, surrealism and Barocco. Don't you think that I'm right? Look carefully at their faces. Surrealism is absolutely here. And look at the treatment of the fabric. Of course, it is a Baroquean approach, not to mention that this artist, Nikolay Cherny, knows anatomy of human body so perfectly well that he can allow himself to play a little bit with the rules of anatomy. All these guys, wayfarers first, these, I call them giants, join the company of isocephali people. This is the term that those of us who are not familiar with that term will see the explanation, will hear the explanation by the very end of that presentation. I call them giants, by the way, because they are so monumental that you never guess that they are not higher, not taller than me myself. And I'm not a very big person. Those who had a chance to meet me know that I'm barely touching 5 feet. But the impression that those pieces, this triptych, is making on you, like they are giants. So I call them giants. Let's see what we get next. Yes. The title of this piece, it's done by contact crayon and pencils, is Looking Up. Look how many different characters presented in this piece. They are so engaged, so much engaged in the attempts to see something somewhere. And each character, look at each of them, follow my error, and you will see how different they are. Little things here, a little bit taller one. Looking Up, it's called Looking Up number 3 because we have the series of that. Every time when we put that piece on the show, because we are not selling it, it's one of Nikolay's signature pieces. So we keep it for ourselves. So every time people are asking, what are they looking at? And the question is getting addressed to the artist, Nikolay Cherny. And Nikolay's answer is, I don't know. We have to ask them. I don't know. All right. Now, why I am showing you that particular photograph. When you look at the previous picture, you're asking yourself, how come the person of today's complex and complicated life can combine in itself, in its persona, all these qualities which allow the artist manipulate not only the implications of contemporary disastrous life, but also keep harmoniously his own reflection on it and create beautiful pieces of art. There are many answers to this question, and one of them is where this artist was grown, how this artist was taught. And to answer this question, I will start showing you the place where Nikolay has grown. It is St. Petersburg, Russia. Now we see the photograph of the Winter Palace Hermitage, where Nikolay wasn't born because it's a Tsar Palace. Now it is a museum. And we are looking at it from the side of the Neva River. But before I show you the whole collection of those photographs, I want to read for you the quotation of the writing of one very bright diplomat, scientist, very good friend of Denis Diderot and Voltaire, Prince Dmitry Golitsyn. He was writing it reflecting upon the site of the architectural composition of buildings, I believe, because he was a very huge, he was a huge appreciator of art, architecture, culture, etc. So what Prince Golitsyn is writing: the sight of greatness, simplicity, and splendor of those buildings elevate thoughts of a poet. Don't you think that it can be applicable to any artist of any artist of any kind, including the person who is working in visual art? So Nikolay was growing in St. Petersburg, walking along those streets, along those canals and rivers, and thinking, absorbing the beauty of the space. This is, by the way, that building, Winter Palace, from the other side of it, from the Palace Square, just reminding you, this is from one side, and this is from another side, and a huge column over there in the middle of it. This is another side of the square, a lot of rivers, a Kazan Cathedral, St. Isaac Cathedral. By the way, I took that photograph not only because it shows St. Paul Cathedral, Peter and Paul Cathedral, but also presents the white nights which happen in St. Petersburg, Russia, in the end of May, beginning of July, and a lot of celebrations with sailboats. And this is the sailboat with the red sails, very interestingly, happening over there. So Nikolay grew up in St. Petersburg, and he graduated from a very fine art school. It is called now St. Petersburg Stiglitz State Academy of Art and Design, where he got his bachelor and master degrees. And after that, he worked in many businesses creating design of many things. And then he created a lot of paintings and graphic designs and book illustrations, and was leader of many art projects. And now he lives since 1992 in the United States of America, where he's showing his art as accomplished painter and drawer. Internationally, nationally, his art is in corporate, communal, and private collections around the world. He is a member of Fort Point Arts Community of Boston. On a regular basis, he's participating with shows and activities of that community. He's teaching art. He has created his own course called Formulas of Drawing, and it is really good course. I would love to be at one point be part of his class because he's teaching a very important approach to drawing, perspective. Okay, so Nikolay grew up in St. Petersburg, Russia, and became an accomplished artist. Let's go and see what he has created in his young years. As you can understand, this is the image of St. Petersburg, one little part of it near the river Moika. And St. Petersburg is well known for the embankments, fences, beautiful fences, and bridges. More than 100, 150 bridges, something like that. And wherever you go, you cannot miss a beautiful space. So Nikolay captured this one. That was young years. Now you see what he has created much later, already being an American, because now Nikolay is what is called American citizen born in Russia. So Nikolay Cherny, an American, has created the images of these three cities: Yellow City, Rattle City, and Red City. He's been using the unique technique that he has created for himself, combining collage and drawing, because he's good in drawing and he's good in design, as you can see. Composition of those pieces is as close to perfect as one can imagine. Being a gallery girl, as I call myself from time to time, I've created a lot of shows with those pieces included in many group and personal shows. And I know how people react to those pieces. They love them. All right. Now we see what may happen if an artist wants to generalize a little bit. Later, I will read you his statement. It is very telling, but you have to be a little bit patient because I want to show you first the thing that the statement is explaining. This is called a little small town with the black sun. This is called funnel shape and conoid. Now see, there is somewhat in the sky as well. When I composed that page, I decided to include in it relatively not old, but some years ago created still life, which is called violin and French horn, and the still life which created like a month ago with the title UFO at the Kitchen. Believe it or not, it is the title, UFO at the Kitchen. You see the similarity of the work with shape. From one side, you see the similarity. From the other side, you understand that the general view that this artist developed within himself, within his artistic persona, is getting applied at many things that he is encountering. Because not only we encountering art of many artists, artists are encountering the phenomena of life, and they reflect upon that, upon those phenomena. And if we are lucky, and we are bumping into not only talented, but also smart artists, we can have so much of a food for our thought, perception, and meditation at some point. Let's see what we get. Talking about generalization. Guess what is the title of that piece? It is People. People. Just look at it for a few seconds in a silence. And this piece starts working on you, as it does on any person, artist or non-artist, who faced it. It is relatively young piece. I think it is created a couple of years ago. Very applicable to our today's life. It does give us a feeling of wholeness of the world, of wholeness of humanity, with all fun and funny and touching and moving and Vanity Fair, look at this hills stuff, and beautiful blue sky, and beautiful moon or sun or Jupiter or whatever it is. The people. Not the people, just people. It is important because it is people, all of us together. Let's see what else we are going to have. This piece is called Butterflies, and one can guess these people at the well, where they apparently filling their vessels with whatever it is in this well, water, light, I don't know. Are they looking at something that may be called a butterfly, or they themselves are looking like butterflies? I'm inclined to take both versions. That one, by the way, has already filled his vessel, whatever it is in that well. So butterflies. It's also in the other house, in the home of other family that we know for many, many years. And we are very happy that now they love and enjoy the piece as we loved it when it was created. All right. That one is also gone, but that one is the very first looking up piece. And the collector who was buying this piece couldn't avoid asking Nikolay, where do they look at? And guess what was the answer? I don't know. These two pieces are paintings in tempera and acrylic. The next two pieces that you can see on this page, that one is called Expectations, obviously, because they're expecting something. This piece is called they're seeing something. Both pieces are people are coming from that very interesting race that Nikolay has created within his art. And the technique of those pieces, of course, is mixed medium partly, but his beloved Conte crayon is used heavily there. And a little bit of paint and a little bit of color of other kinds, I think. And we'll see what is going next. Those are people on the hill. And this piece is called Wind. And those are two figures with two pots. Again, a look at this interesting phenomenon of the knowledge of art history and art and many, many implications of visual perception in many things, including design and everything, that transpires through the art of that very knowledgeable person who creates those paintings and drawings. You just looking at these pieces, you can recall more or less the whole history of art behind him, because knowingly, unknowingly, you always can see what is artist about, what is his thinking, what are his or her preferences, what are his or her hopes and feelings about today, yesterday, and tomorrow, because artwork is the open book, and this open book tells us everything about the artist. Our profession is very dangerous. It is what I'm always saying to my students. It is very dangerous. If you're a good artist, you're opening yourself to the world, so the world can read you as an open book. Now look at this piece. And the title of this piece is so complicated that I will have to find it and to read it for you because it's very long. So I wrote it down. It is read, Lady with yours and gentleman with the will. Now, every time that the piece goes in the show, people are asking why this lady has 4 hands. And Nikolay is always answering, if you have 4 vessels, 4 pots to carry, you need more than 2 hands, right? So the lady has 4. I think it's very reasonable. You have to be reasonable. Even if you're an artist, you must be reasonable. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. So 4 hands. I don't know if you remember, I pointed out that you will see that character again. I will get you back to that slide, to that page when the character appeared. But actually, first she was born, and the piece is called Beautiful Hair. It dwells not in our studio, unfortunately, now, but we are happy for her. We know that she's deeply loved by her new owner. Beautiful hair. Now the lady with beautiful hair appears to be the musician because she's playing whatever it is she's playing. Harp? I don't know. And the piece is called Trio because her fellow musicians from her little band are playing the string instrument, whatever it is, and the wind instrument, whatever it is. Okay, let us jump back very fast because I want to show you this lady when she's traveling the world. Now, let's go with me. See, it is her. Now she's traveling, and she keeps playing the instrument, and her band has grown because this piece was created somewhat later than those that I've shown you, and we are coming back real fast, real fast. Beautiful hair and the trio. Just keeping up making music. The piece is called Making Music with Nestlings. See the nestlings? These are them. And this is that instrument which is in the obvious relation with all the string instruments that you have seen. Once one string, probably ancient harp, was carried by one of the wayfarers. Another huge string instrument was just played by the lady with beautiful hair. Now that little wind, and well, that lady, which is playing bells, carrying courageously the whole bunch of nestlings in her hair. Watch the artwork. Watch the difference in texture, which is presented in this very light and elegant piece in the most perfect way. how the lines, how the sharp, seemingly sharp lines of the sounds in one case, whatever it is in other case, sounds again that which become the dress for the lady, and the treatment of the bodies. You see, just simple graphite pencil can do magic if it gets into the right hand. And Nikolay's hand is apparently right hand. Look at that head of the guy. Look at the ear, by the way. He is also humanoid. All of them are humanoids. All of them belong to that special race that Nikolay has created within his artwork. How the hair treated, how the body, the skin, the face, eyes, little smile. How different are expressions of the faces of those characters. All right, let's go further. And now there was the show at the place where Nikolay lives, which is called Midway Studios. It is a place where artists live, work, and show their artwork. And at the gallery, big gallery of that place, periodically, before Corona, because now everything is just in the pause. The show that was before stays there for now. But before it happened, there was the whole string of the shows. And one show was called Fashion Show with Runway Show. And for that runway and fashion show, there was the showing of flat art, so-called paintings, created for the wall of the gallery, through which those fashionably dressed models were coming through. So Nikolay created his piece, which is called apparently New Attire. Obviously, that is the right title, New Attire. So this is how he sees the possibilities of dressing up for the important event. This lady and that one, maybe the beautiful hair lady decided to bake a braid. Maybe the beautiful lady girl decided to go this way. And the first time, though they are looking up, you can see what they are looking at. They are looking at the stars. They are going to reach the stars, which is right. Everyone should go and try to reach the stars in whatever we do. And they also may be called isocephaly people. Remember, we'll get to it very soon. Now, Nikolay is multi-talented, as all talented people possess multiplicity of talents. So not only has created that surrealistic flying amphorae, a little bit scary, of course, but because it's very beautiful, you forget about your scare. You just enjoy the thrill of the flight. And the treatment of the amphorae of these vessels is perfect. So why not to enjoy it? Nikolay has created the whole collection, being already in the United States, the whole collection of different commissions. That was the commission with the invitation, with calligraphy. He is a very good calligrapher. Then the illustration, which has the depiction of one of the famous architectural sites in Framingham. Now it is city of Framingham on Massachusetts. And you can see the piece of calligraphy in the cartouche in this. And there are examples of his logos. And there are examples of another advertisement and the illustration for the book, another book. And the picture created specifically for the person who commissioned him some ad for his garage business. And the fun starts here. These guys are flying towards to amphorae in my composition of this page at least. And they are called squadron because they are. They are looking at the leader. See, the middle one should be leader leading the squadron. So they all are looking at him to keep the distance and to keep the direction right. And that little fun piece show you the mastership of the artist and his emotional warmth to little creatures that can be presented in that fine and funny way, which is good. Artists should have warm feelings to those creatures, to those images that they create. Thus, they send a message of warmth and niceness to the viewer, to us. All right. I hope that you're prepared to see some more fun, and you're going to see it. These are the whole collection of fantastic creatures. That was kind of commissioned some time ago, and Nikolay created not only images. This is a trumpeter. This is a creature that sometimes obtains the writing, which is read, "I love you." And the mosquito, which is flying not on his wings, but on his ears. And he's kind of evil. Look at his eyes. And fishes, many, 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 many fishes. Nikolay created not only images, but also the designs for those pictures. And they were getting sold in the number of locations of the place that commissioned that work for Nikolay. And just for fun of it, Nikolay, being the painter, the drawer, the designer, and the thinker, has created this piece which is called aquarium. I'm going to show you it a little bit in more details. So, the aquarium. You see, Nikolay has created the whole construction. This is collage of cutouts, boards, with the windows that he created and painted, and with fishes which are swimming in all directions. See, that one came out at the end of the era when so-called Xerox art was in favor, when there was not so much practicing of computer art. So artists would Xerox one image and treat it in different ways, because every single image here, even those which are repeating the black and white outline of the image, all of them are illuminated by hand. So they are actually originals. All of them originals. Just to top the fun, just to finish the fun, Nikolay put on the top of his aquarium the little fish which serves as weather vane. So she shows the direction of the wind if it so happens within the place where aquarium is standing. Next, Nikolay, as almost all the artists in the world, eventually puts his attention and creativity and hands onto the creating of still life. Still life is our school. We are studying the objects. We are studying the connection between space and matter. We're creating some surrealistic matters from time to time. And we study painting, we study texture, and we enjoy ourselves in still lives. There are some artists who concentrate only on still lives, But Nikolay has just included still life in the body of his art. This is a blue teapot. This is a carafe 1, carafe 2. This one, by the way, the left on the second row, that piece of beauty is created by Nikolay when he was a young boy, just starting his way into the art. He was barely out of the school, his art academy, or it is possibly had been created when he was at school as a series of these exercises. And when your exercise is so beautiful, you probably are going to be an artist. And so Nikolay has become one. This one is called grapefruit. Now you can see that this artist can accomplish perfectly well the task of presenting the real space in depicting realistically with all shades and lights and shadows and everything, with liquid or with solid piece, with reflections, with surfaces, horizontal, vertical, and everything. And still life allowed him to give himself that pleasure. So he took it. Now we have the piece, which is called Still Life with the Orange. This is the orange. I would say that this is the opening into cosmos, but, well, maybe the orange is the opening into any other space, because who knows what is the space of art. I see that piece as a very strong generalization of our perception of the objective world around us, on the brink of the getting into the ideal world. And besides, it's done so beautifully. Just putting aside all this smartness, all this cleverness, forget about it. Just enjoy yourself looking at this beautiful piece. This is one of the pieces that Nikolay, I hope, will never give away, because he has to have it in his studio to look at it from time to time, because there are some pieces that I call advanced pieces in the body of work of any artist. They just somehow, some higher spirit transpires through what we do, showing us what we should try to achieve. And maybe this is one of them. Who knows? However, I'm so happy that we are able to show it to you. And let's see what's next. Next is the piece which is called White Lilies. Because Nikolay is a great painter of flowers, you will see examples of that, and this is one of them, of course. It is a great painting, of course, that is obviously shown here, with the simplicity. Remember what Prince Golitsyn mentioned about greatness, simplicity, and splendor of some objects of architecture. That definition fits perfectly well to a number of good things in visual art, in space art, in many things. And greatness, simplicity, and splendor can be applied to this still life. Look how the leaves are treated. Look how simple and just mind-blowingly beautiful the flowers are done. Not overdone, but just enough to strike you. Let's see what else we're gonna show you. the whole bunch of flowers, chrysanthemums, tulips, another example of chrysanthemums, and that one flowers and vases. This is a piece younger than others. These are created in the United States. This one was created in the years when Nikolay lived in Russia. I'm so very happy that we managed to bring that piece here because it is absolutely worthy of showing to people because it gives people the pleasure and the meditative satisfaction. And again, greatness, simplicity, splendor, etc., etc. So we're happy to have it with us. And the landscapes. That particular piece, which is called Tree, Nikolay has created especially by our request for one of our early presentations, Trees and Woods, it was called. And I included that piece into the collection of that show because it's a beautiful piece. I have the other image Nikolay created for one of our shows, also trees. And I'm happy that I can show you those trees, three oaks. They are huge, humongous, and the little town over there on the other side of that square seems so small because they are grandiose, the oak trees. That is pencil, just pencil with the touch of color, I think colored pencil, which is called Main Street. If you wanted to see a perfect drawing of the town with wooden bridge, just come see that picture. It is perfect, and perfect depiction of the wooden house. So we're so used to see in all towns that we travel through. That one is done in St. Petersburg in the earlier years of Nikolay's career. It has the official title Smolenka because it is the embankment of another small river. St. Petersburg has a lot of smaller rivers than the huge Neva River, where Winter Palace Hermitage is standing on. That's industrial suburb done in the earlier part of Nikolay's career, but somehow so relevant to one of the trends of the American art, American paintings of the late 50s. And again, it is beautiful. That watercolor painting is Estonian landscape, also done with masterly and nice warm air within the piece and nice warm feeling that we can get looking at this piece. And now we are coming to what I promised to you. Remember, in the very beginning of the show, we have seen wayfarers. This is one of the first, maybe the first piece of those travelers. By the way, if you take a good look at these wayfarers, you won't see anyone repeating the gesture or position of the body or the hair of their neighbors. The only common thing between them is position of their feet. And now I'm going to read you the definition of what is called isocephaly. It's an old term, Greek term, And the definition done by one of the uh, encyclopedias is the following. Isocephaly is the arrangement of figures so that they all at the same height, no matter what posture they are in. It's typical for ancient Greek and of the classical period. I have to add to that definition that that approach may be found in the ancient Greek art and later in the Russian icons. You can also see the isocephaly approach. One little comment to that piece. When it was created, it was in the process of being created, and Nikolay decided, not yet understanding what was happening with him and his piece of art, he felt the necessity of making them of the same height. And then he recalled, nice to be well educated, right? He recalled that there is the trend of making people of the same height. So every time when we are showing that piece, somebody in the crowd is not sure that they know the definition of isocephaly. So we are reciting that definition again and again and again, but it doesn't actually matter. What matters is that you can look at this piece forever, not being tired, and at some point you have a feeling that you become part of that procession, maybe part of that conversation, because they definitely are conversing. Sometimes I dare calling them Athenoscope. I think that they all are philosophers, don't you think? And by the way, they all dressed differently as well. So now you know the secret that I promised to open you. To those who have not recognized in the previous pieces the isocephaly approach. And then we are coming to the final piece of our presentation, which presents artist himself sitting at the feet of his own creation, three figures, those whom I call giants. I have one interesting comment about it. There was the artist, thinker, scientist, former lawyer, jurist. You probably already understand that I'm talking about Vasily Kandinsky. Vasily Kandinsky, not only when he abandoned the law and became the famous artist eventually, he has written a lot of texts and books and manifestos and everything. And in one of them, he writes, first, I will read the English translation, and then you will see what happens then. In English translation, it sounds like that. In art, man should speak to man about the superhuman. And because originally that text was written in German when Vasily Kandinsky lived in Germany, and because I would love to deliver the original sense, especially to those of you who speak German, and you please forgive me for my pronunciation. I will try my very best. Nikolay did alliteration. So it is how it probably would sound. Forgive me my German. I don't speak it. Nikolay does. In der Kunst soll der Mensch zu Menschen vom Übermenschlichen sprechen. I just find that the melody of that line is to be delivered in the original writing. I know that Vasily Kandinsky has all great talents, had many implications of his talent. I'm not sure that I've seen anything in poetry by him, but I wouldn't be surprised because that line is very poetic. And by the end of our presentation, I want to read you the statement that Nikolay Cherny is also including in all the information that he provides when when he has to present his points of standing to people who are about to explore his art. It says, phenomena of reality are getting accessible for us if we can give them a name. To give a name, to impart form to a primary unformed matter is our natural way of communicating with the world, with one another, and possibility of being understood by the other. It is an endless process. I try to realize this connection using color, line, shape, etc. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you next time.